So now that our boss is complete and we've let our player be able to destroy him completely, there's one final thing we want our players to be able to do, and that's to be able to see that they've won the level. So we're going to go to our canvas here. I'm going to create a new image on this canvas. So a new UI image. Actually, no, rather than creating a new image, what I'll do is delete that one there. I'm going to duplicate our previous image. We're going to rename this to be level complete. I'm going to activate it here because we want to do the same thing of overlaying the screen with a bit of text, or overlaying the screen with some darkness so we can recognize the change. And instead of saying game over, we're going to say level complete, like this. Stretch it out, and there we go. We got a nice little message for our players. So I'm going to deactivate this. We're going to add a very simple little script to our project. Down in our scripts here, we're going to create a C# script, and we're going to call it the level complete script. And all this is going to do is, as soon as it appears on screen, it's going to start counting down, and then it'll load into the next level that we tell it to. So we're going to open this up here. We're going to create a public float time to load. In our update loop, we're going to make that count down. So time to load minus equals time.delta time. And then if it goes below 0, so if time to load is less than or equal to 0, we want to load up the next level. So we need to include, of course, our scene management. So using Unity, oh no, hold on, there we go, using Unity Engine dot scene management, and then down here we can go scene manager dot load scene. And what's the name of the scene we're going to load next? Well, of course we need a reference to that here, so we'll have a public string next level, and then we'll pass that in here, and there we go, we're loading into the next level that we want to go to. So let's go back into the game. We're going to assign that to the level complete screen. At the moment we don't have any other levels in the game, so I'm just going to tell it to load this level again in our scenes. So now we have it there. Let's attach that to this. Time to load, we'll give it like 5 seconds to load. Next level will be level 1 again. Then we need, of course, to activate this screen when we defeat the boss. So that's the final thing we're going to add to our boss battle script. We're going to add public game object level win screen, and then down in the end of phase 3 here, we never actually ended up using phase 4, so we should use that here. That was actually what we were meant to do. We're going to go for phase 4 here. So if we're in phase 4, we're going to have a simple countdown before that level when it actually appears on screen, so we can watch the explosion of our enemy. So we'll have public float time to level win, and then down here we'll say time to level win minus equals time.delta time. If it goes below 0, is less than or equal to 0, then we're going to turn on our level win screen. So level win screen dot set active true, and then we're going to deactivate the main boss game object. So we just say game object dot set active false. So let's save this, go back into the game. This will be our final bit of our boss now. Let this compile, and we'll just hook up those few little bits, and we'll just run through one time to make sure this is all going just the way we want it to. We'll give it a 3-second countdown. Turn level complete there. Before we actually start running the game, we need to make sure that we add our scene to the build settings. So I'm just going to add our currently open scene because that's the only one we have going. We'll hit play. Let's see if we can destroy this boss in a reasonable amount of time. We got one hand, so we can get one hand without getting hit. Let's see if we can get any more. Oh, somehow I managed to get up there safely. There we go, we got both hands. So now comes the real danger. Oh, I managed to do it without losing a life. That's pretty surprising. So we let that count down. Oh, why didn't it count down? We're in phase 4, we're counting down. Oh, I deactivated the object when our main health ran out, of course. We needed to not do that. So let's save that, go back into the game. Will that apply here automatically into the game while it's running? I don't know if it will. Sometimes they do. If it finishes compiling. No, it didn't. Okay, so we'll just quickly restart one last time. Let's get this boss. Can I do it again without dying? Probably not. Whoop, 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 whoop. No, there we go. I lost my shield already, so that's not good. There we go, I'm dead again. Oh, it's all falling apart. Let's get him. Destroy the body. Like I said, only having 5 bullets is probably not a good idea. But there we go. We got our level complete. Our boss kind of stayed in the scene, and that was a problem because rather than deactivating the game object, what we should be doing here is deactivating the boss himself. But we saw our level win screen appeared just the way we wanted it to, and then it loaded up into a new level, i.e. it just restarted the same level again. But it's perfect. Our system is all working, our game is working just fine, and we've got our boss all sorted. So we've got a lot of the main components of our game in place. So there's just a couple of other things we could take a look at doing, and specifically a couple of other things that you can take a look at doing. So just as a quick little add-on to this video, I did notice when I destroyed the boss just after completing that video, we have one tiny little problem left, which is that when we deactivate the boss himself and all our phases come to an end, although he stops shooting from the center of his body, he's still shooting from the 2 outside elements. So what we can do to deactivate that is just as soon as the boss is destroyed, we can set our shock counter to be equal to a really high number, just 500, and that'll last long enough to end our level. So just one quick last time, we're going to verify that it all works absolutely perfectly. Go back into our game here, and once we get going, we'll destroy our boss. And if we can avoid all these shots. There we go, we got that one. Oh, no, I got destroyed. There we go, he's destroyed. There's no more shooting. We load our level complete screen. And then finally, we load in to the next level. Now that we've added all the basic features in our game, including our boss battle and a way for us to complete each individual level, there's a couple of things we want to add in to make the game more complete, and these are things we've already covered in our previous projects, such as making a main menu screen and making a victory screen at the end of the game. And because we've already covered these topics, what your challenge is now is to go ahead and add them in yourself. As an example, I've got a couple of scenes here. I'm going to load into my menu. So if I zoom out, or if actually I just switch to game view. At the moment, I've created our little title screen. I've used the logo image that's included with the project in our art folder. I've added a couple of buttons to start a new game and to quit the game. So if I go to new game, we jump in here into playing the game. I'm actually going to turn my volume down. I just realized it's quite loud. And we can shoot away at our enemies, and hopefully we can win the game. But if you notice, looking up at the top of the screen, I've also added a high score system, which we covered in our previous game. We've got a way of carrying lives and high score into multiple levels at the moment. In our game view here, we can see our little boss offside because I haven't set this to 16:9. That's okay. That's what we need to set up when we're working in our game. So the canvas here needs to be readjusted to fit those things in. But that's fine. That's perfectly doable. So I've added in that. I've added in at the end of our level complete, rather than moving on to the same level again, we go into our victory screen, which shows us, congratulations, you completed the game, which we covered again in the previous episode. So that's exactly just what we want to do. And those simple little things, we just want to add them in the exact same way that we did them in the previous project. Now, of course, I'm not going to step through that entire process with you, but the final project files will be included at the end of the project for you to take a look at them yourself if you don't understand how to do it yourself, and see how I've implemented them into the game. There's one final thing I just want to cover here as an example as well. I've created another copy of level 1 that I just call level 0. And this level, instead of letting our level end when we get to the boss, it ends when we just hit play here. When the game gets going. Apparently I've already lost a life because I was carrying that over from before, but that's okay. So we can kill all these things, kill all them, we let these things spawn in, and then there's no more enemies for us to face. So we've effectively beaten the level. I've not included a boss in this level, so we let them kind of pass by. And now we've defeated all our enemies in the level, our threats have moved on from the screen, and we can say level complete. Perfect. And the way I've done that, if I go into level 0 here, is just by saying, instead of on our game manager, after we spawned all our waves here, instead of spawning the boss battle and setting that to be active, instead we've just said level complete will be automatically active once we run out of waves. So I just set up a 4th wave here of a copy of our asteroids wave we already have. But what would be more sensible would be to make sure that this is an empty wave. So we could just have this be an empty object, for example. We could just create an empty object here. I'll just pop it out here. We'll just say empty wave, just so it doesn't create anything in our screen. So I could just click and drop that into there. And then what we'll see is after 20 seconds after our last wave appears on the screen, then it loads this empty wave, and then it says, okay, our waves are all finished, so go to whatever's in our boss battle slot, and then instead of activating our boss battle, we have it set to activate our level complete. So that's how we can work around using completing levels without having any bosses in them at all. Although generally speaking, these kind of games would normally have a boss battle at the end of any particular level. But now that we have our main menu in place and our victory screen in place, once you've implemented them yourself, there's one more thing we want to add in to finally complete our game, and that's to allow our players to be able to restart a game if they have to quit for some reason. So you can return to the furthest level you've reached. Okay, so we want to allow our players to be able to continue the game if they, for example, lose all their lives and have to quit out of the game, or if they just, generally speaking, quit out and go back to playing the game at another point in time. And to do that, we're going to create a very, very simple continue system. Now, all we want to do is basically say we're going to store a variable, which will be the name of the current level we're on, and then we're going to add a continue button here that will check if there's any variable available that has that name stored within it. And then if that's available, make the button appear, and then we'll load up the name of that level. So first of all, we're going to add a continue button. So I'm going to copy our start button here, and I'm going to make sure that it says continue instead of new game. I'm going to rename it to be continue as well. And then we're going to move it up so it's above our new game button, because generally speaking, that's where these things are normally placed in the hierarchy of things. Then I'm going to load up my main menu script I created. Now again, this, as I discussed in the previous video, this main menu script is pretty much the same as what we used in our previous project. So now what we're going to do is add a new function to allow us to continue our game. So we're going to create a new public void that we'll just call continue game, and we'll put that down here. And then here we're going to say all we want our continue game to do is to go into our scene manager and load up. So scene manager.load scene, and what we want to load is a player prefs dot get string. So we want to get a string variable, and we're going to call this string furthest level reached. Okay, so we know what our continue button is going to do. So let's now say how are we going to make our button appear on screen. So obviously we'll need a reference to our button. So here we'll say public game object continue button. And then what we're going to do is in our start function, which I've removed from our main menu script when I was creating it by default. So let's add in our normal start function. So that'll be void start, like that. As we know, our start function happens as soon as the game is loaded. So what we'll do is do a check and see if this player prefs key already exists. Then if it exists, then that means we're after setting a value into it, which means there's a level that we can load up. So that means the continue button should appear. So we'll say up here in our start function, we'll say if player prefs dot has key, and the key we want to check for is furthest level reached, like that. We want to make sure that we spelled it the exact same as we did here, and it looks like we did. Oh no, that shouldn't be a semicolon, that should be another bracket. And then if the player has key exists, then we want to set our continue button to be active. So we'll say continue button, well, if I could spell it properly would be okay, continue button dot set active true. So that means our button will be activated as soon as the game loads, if there's a key available for us to load to. So I'm just going to save this, and let's go into the game. And because we haven't set a key yet, we're going to make sure that it doesn't activate the button. So we'll just let it compile, and then I'm going to disable the continue button on our little main menu here. So we'll let that do that. So our continue button is gone. If I hit play now, we'll see, perfect, we have no button being activated. So that's perfectly fine. But how do we activate the button, and how do we set it so that our players can actually return to a level? Well, very simply, what we're going to do is load into our game manager script, and in the start function we're just going to add a very simple line of code to say as soon as we start up this new level, then we're going to store in the player prefs, so player prefs dot set string, and we're going to set the furthest level reached string. We're going to set that to be whatever the name is of the current scene that's loaded. So the current level that's loaded, we're going to set that to be here in our first level reach string. So we'll just say go into the scene manager, and of course to access the scene manager, because we haven't done it before on our game manager, we need to go up the top and say using Unity moving my arrows around a bit too much, using Unity engine dot scene management. So we can scroll back down, and now we can go into our scene manager dot get active scene dot get active scene, and then we want to get the active scene's name. So just like that, we're storing the value into our player prefs, and that'll let us be able to continue the game from our main menu screen. So to see that in action, we can save this and go back into the game, let it compile. So if we play from the start here now, and start our new game, so we'll start off in level 1, and we should get going. We can play away, and at this point the level that we're on should already have been saved. So what we can do is say, okay, we've got to this first level, so let's quit out of this. So I'm just going to quit out of our game running, and now when we start running again, it'll look and see, has our first level reach been set, and if it has, oh, we haven't assigned the continue button. Let's go to our canvas here on our main menu. We're going to drag the continue button in there, but you can see from our error it was trying to access the continue button. So that means when we play it here, we get our continue button appearing on the screen just the way we want it to. So that's absolutely perfect. But of course now if I hit continue, once it loads, we continue with the previous lives and stuff that we had before. So what we want to do is just add one little thing in to say in our game manager here, sorry, not in our game manager, in our main menu, we want to make sure, much as I've done when you start a new game, we want to set whatever values we're storing between levels, like for example, how many lives our player has, how much score the player has, we want to set that when we press the continue game button here. So I'm just going to copy the stuff I already have here. Oh no, not cut it, I want to copy it, and I'm just going to paste it in there, so it'll work the exact same as if we were starting a new game. And basically we're saying, okay, if you continue a game from wherever you were, you lose your high score. You need to be able to set a really high score, you basically need to start the game from the beginning, which is pretty standard for these kind of classic side-scrolling shooting games. So we'll save that, pop into the game, and of course when we play and we go to continue our game, we'll see that we'll have our 3 lives and we won't have any current score. We'll have 0 score. So perfect, that's exactly what we want to do. Just get through this first bit of level and we'll see then. So okay, well no, this is far enough. So we've lost a life now. Just as an example, let's see if I can kill this guy, if I can manage to kill him. So we're down to 1 life. Actually, we'll stop here. So just as an example of our continue button actually working properly, because we didn't see it because we had no score and 3 lives to start off with anyway previously. But we'll see now we were down to 1 life. So if I hit play and actually continue the game now, we'll go back to our same level, but I'll be back up to 3 lives and of course back to 0 score. So we continue. There we go, we're back up to 3, 0 score. So perfect. That's working exactly the way we wanted to do. So the only thing left to do now is to build the full game. Our game now has all the functionality we wanted built into it. So let's go ahead and make it a full build. So we go to our file and then build settings. We need to make sure that our levels that we want are added into the scene, into our build settings here. So we have, at the moment I just have the main menu, level 1 and our victory screen. That's fine, but obviously you'll want to have more levels in your final game. Next thing we want to do is go to our player settings. I'm going to set a new icon, which is our little alien hunter logo. That's absolutely fine. We want to force ourselves into 16:9 resolution again, much as we've done before. So I'm going to untick the other ones to make sure that our players are all playing within the same space and getting the same kind of view when they play the game. And otherwise all our other settings are okay. We know we want to call it Alien Hunter, that's fine. I'm going to say company name once again is just James, but of course you can set it to whatever you want. And with all that done, I'm going to hit build here. I'm going to create a new folder to store my builds in for this game, and we'll just call it Alien Hunter version 1. Save this and we'll just wait for it to build so we can check it out. Okay, so with our game now built, we can go on ahead and open it up. So while it started running here, we got our little Made with Unity splash screen. So we just wait a couple of seconds and we'll load into our main menu and we can check it out. So we've got our Alien Hunter game in operation and can start a new game. We'll just try and play through here and see how far we can get. Probably not that far because I keep dying whenever I play over and over again. Let's see how many bad guys can I kill. Oh, I'm managing to kill them all. Can I get a shield maybe? Nope, no extra shields for me. But as you can see, our game looks perfectly fine. It's running all nicely and smoothly for our players to be able to enjoy. And as I said before, if you're going to share the game with anyone, you need to make sure... Oh, I died. You need to make sure that you send both the .exe file as well as the folder called data that will contain all the files they need to actually be able to let people play the game themselves. So there we go, we completed our little level here. That should bring us on to the victory screen. Congratulations, you completed the game. I hit a button and I go back to the main menu. So perfect, everything in our game works just the way we want it to. It's all playing along exactly how we want, and we can now be satisfied in knowing that we have completed our 3rd project.